Admiral Katie Morrison stood on the bridge of the USS Liberty, watching the stars through the massive viewing screen. The quiet hum of the ship's engines filled the air around her. She had been in space for 20 years, but nothing had prepared her for this moment. A bright flash appeared on the screen. The communication officer, Lieutenant Ben Cooper, turned toward her with wide eyes. "Admiral, we're getting a transmission. It's from outside our solar system." Katie felt her heart skip. A beat. First contact. After decades of searching the stars, they had finally found other life. Or perhaps other life had found them. "Put it through," she ordered, her voice steady despite the excitement building inside her. The screen flickered and changed. A tall, gray-skinned creature appeared before them. Its eyes were large and black, and strange markings covered its face. When it spoke, the voice was cold and mechanical, translated by their computer systems. "I am High Commander Vextar, the Zephyrian. Galactic Empire. You are the species called humans from the planet Earth." Katie stepped forward. "This is Admiral Katie Morrison of the Terran Defense Fleet. We greet you in peace." The alien creature made a sound that might have been laughter. "Peace? You speak of peace when you are nothing but insects compared to our might. We have ruled this galaxy for 3,000 years. Countless worlds bow before our power." Commander Jake Phillips, the ship's diplomatic officer, moved to Katie's side. He was young for his position, but his calm manner had helped solve many problems in the past. "High Commander, we wish to establish friendly relations between our peoples. Perhaps we can find common ground." Vextar's black eyes seemed to burn with anger. "There is no common ground between the mighty and the weak. You will listen to our terms, and you will obey." The screen changed to show a massive fleet of ships. There were thousands of them, stretching as far as the eye could see. Each ship was 10 times larger than the Liberty. Their dark hulls gleamed with weapons that could destroy planets. 50,000 warships wait at the edge of your system," Vextar continued. "In 72 hours, you will surrender your planet and your people to the Empire. Your species will serve us as slaves. Your world will become another jewel in our crown." Katie's hands clenched into fists. Around her, the bridge crew sat in shocked silence. The numbers were impossible. Earth's entire fleet had only 800 ships, and most of those were smaller patrol vessels. Jake stepped forward again, his voice diplomatic but firm. "High Commander, surely we can discuss this. Our people have much to offer. We are skilled in science, art, and technology. Perhaps we could form an alliance instead." "Alliance?" Vextar's voice grew colder. "We do not make alliances with insects. You have 72 hours to surrender completely. If you refuse, we will destroy every human life in this system. Your cities will burn, your oceans will boil, and your world will become dust floating in space." The transmission ended abruptly. The bridge fell silent, except for the soft beeping of computers and the distant hum of the engines. Katie looked around at her crew. She could see fear in their eyes, but also determination. "Get me President Carter," Katie ordered. "Priority 1 transmission to Earth." Within minutes, the screen showed the Oval Office. President Lisa Carter sat behind her desk, flanked by her top advisors. General Nick Hayes, a tough old soldier with gray hair and sharp eyes, stood to her right. Fleet Commander Amy Brooks, who had helped design many of Earth's newest ships, stood to her left. "Admiral Morrison," the President said, "we received your preliminary report. Is it as bad as it sounds?" Katie nodded grimly. "Worse, Madam President. They have 50,000 ships, each one larger and more powerful than anything we have. They're giving us 3 days to surrender the entire human race." General Hayes leaned forward. "What about their technology? Can we fight them?" "Unknown. Sir, Their ships appear to be far more advanced than ours, but we haven't seen them in action yet. Fleet Commander Brooks spoke up. Admiral, I need you to get as much information as possible about their fleet composition. Ship types, weapon systems, anything that might help us. Already on it, Commander. I'm sending scout ships to observe from a safe distance. President. Carter looked tired, as if the weight of the entire human race had suddenly fallen on her shoulders. Admiral, I want you to prepare for the worst while we hope for the best. We're calling an emergency session of the Global Defense Council. Every nation's military leaders will be involved. What are your orders, Madam President? Buy us time. Keep watching their fleet. Look for any weakness, any advantage we might have. And Admiral. Carter paused, her voice growing stronger. Prepare our people for war. Humanity has never backed down from a fight, and we won't start now. The transmission ended. Katie turned to her crew, seeing the same mix of fear and determination in their faces that she felt in her own heart. You heard the President, she announced. We have 72 hours to figure out how 800 ships can defeat 50,000. All department heads to the briefing room in 10 minutes. Jake, I want you to review every piece of information we have about alien contact protocols. Ben, keep monitoring their transmissions. And someone get me Dr. Ryan Cole from the Advanced Weapons Division. As her crew rushed to their tasks, Katie remained on the bridge, staring out at the stars. Somewhere out there, an enemy fleet waited to destroy everything she had ever known and loved. The odds were impossible. The enemy was stronger, and time was running out. But Katie Morrison had not become an admiral by giving up when things looked hopeless. If the Zephyrian Empire wanted a fight, humanity would give them one they would never forget. Dr. Ryan Cole stood in the underground laboratory, 3 miles beneath the surface of Nevada. The facility was so secret that only 50 people on Earth knew it existed. For the past 5 years, he had been working on humanity's greatest secret. Sir, we just received word from Admiral Morrison, said Dr. Helen Park, his chief assistant. She was young but brilliant, with short black hair and eyes that seemed to see everything. The aliens have given us 72 hours. Ryan nodded grimly. Then it's time to show them what we've been building. The laboratory stretched for miles in every direction. Massive machines hummed with power, creating new materials that had never existed before. Scientists and engineers worked day and night, building weapons that could level mountains and ships that could disappear from any scanner. 5 years ago, Earth had its first real contact with hostile aliens. Not the Zephyrians, but a group of raiders who attacked a mining colony on the edge of the solar system. The raiders had better technology, but they were few in number. Human forces managed to capture several of their ships before driving them away. That attack changed everything. Every government on Earth realized the same truth. Humanity was not alone in the universe, and not everyone out there was friendly. President Carter, who was just a senator then, helped create the Terran Defense Initiative. Every nation contributed money, people, and resources to prepare for the day when Earth would face a real threat. The Nevada facility was just one of 12 such bases hidden around the world. Dr. Cole called engineer Tony Martinez from across the room. He was working on a device that looked like a metal cube covered in wires. The new power cores are ready for testing. Ryan walked over to examine Tony's work. The power core was small enough to hold in his hands, but it contained more energy than a nuclear reactor. They had learned to create it by studying alien technology and combining it with human engineering. How many do we have ready? Ryan asked. 200, sir. Enough to power our new ship designs. Ryan smiled. The Zephyrians thought they knew everything about human technology. They had probably studied Earth's radio signals and satellite transmissions. But they knew nothing about what humanity had built in secret. Meanwhile, Captain Sam Rodriguez prepared for the most dangerous mission of his life. His ship, the USS Phantom, was humanity's most advanced stealth vessel. It was small, fast, and nearly invisible to any scanner, perfect for getting close to an enemy fleet. "All systems green, Captain," reported his pilot, Lieutenant Carol Davis. She was one of the best pilots in the fleet, able to fly through asteroid fields without hitting a single rock. "Take us out, slow and quiet," Sam ordered. "We need to get close enough to count their ships and study their formations." The Phantom slipped through space like a shadow. Its special hull coating absorbed radar waves, and its engines produced almost no heat signature. Even if the aliens were looking directly at them, they would see nothing but empty space dot as they approached the alien fleet. Sam felt his breath catch in his throat. The enemy ships stretched across space like a metal ocean. Each vessel was massive, bristling with weapons that could destroy cities. But Sam was not here to fight. He was here to learn. "Recording everything, sir," said Lieutenant Davis. "Their ships are arranged in standard attack formations. Very organized, very predictable." Sam studied the alien fleet through his ship's advanced sensors. The Zephyrians had arranged their ships in neat rows, like soldiers standing at attention. It was impressive, but it was also exactly what human tacticians had hoped to see. "They fight like they've been fighting for thousands of years," Sam said quietly. "Same formations, same strategies. They've never had to adapt because no one has ever challenged them." Back on Earth, Colonel Beth Adams walked through another secret facility hidden beneath the Rocky Mountains. This base was even larger then. The Nevada Laboratory. Inside massive chambers, workers were building humanity's secret weapon. "How many ships do we have ready?" Beth asked her assistant, Major Kelly Wright. 50 of the new class vessels, Colonel. Another 100 will be ready within 24 hours. Beth nodded with satisfaction. The new ships looked nothing like traditional human vessels. They were smaller, faster, and designed to work together like a pack of wolves rather than fighting. Like lone warriors. And the crews? All volunteers, ma'am. Every pilot, every gunner, every engineer volunteered for this mission. They all know what's at stake. In another part of the facility, programmers worked on humanity's other secret weapon. Advanced computer systems that could think and adapt faster than any alien mind. These systems would control the new ships, making split-second decisions that could mean the difference between victory and death. Dr. Helen Park had designed much of the computer code herself. She understood that humans could never match alien technology ship for ship, but they didn't need to. They just needed to be smarter, faster, and more unpredictable than their enemies. "The battle computers are online," Helen reported to Ryan. "They've been studying every piece of alien technology we captured. They know the weak points in Zephyrian ships better than the aliens do." Ryan looked around the laboratory at all the people working to save humanity. Scientists, engineers, soldiers, and programmers had given up everything to prepare for this moment. They had worked without sleep, without rest, driven by the knowledge that the survival of their species depended on their success. "How long until Admiral Morrison needs our ships?" Ryan asked. 48 hours, sir, but we'll be ready in 24. Ryan smiled. The Zephyrians thought they were dealing with a primitive species that had just learned to travel between stars. They expected an easy victory against a weak enemy. They were about to learn that underestimating humanity was the deadliest mistake anyone could make. Admiral Katie Morrison sat in her command chair, watching the countdown timer on the main screen. 12 hours remained until the Zephyrian deadline. Around her, the bridge crew worked quietly, preparing for what might be humanity's last battle. "Admiral," Commander Jake Phillips said softly, "the Global Defense Council is still debating whether to surrender. Some members think we should save what lives we can." Katie's jaw tightened. And what do you think, Jake? I think that if we surrender now, we'll be slaves forever. Our children will grow up in chains, never knowing what it means to be free. Katie nodded. She had already made her decision, but she was glad to know her officers felt the same way. Signal all fleet commanders. We're not waiting for their attack. The bridge fell silent. Lieutenant Ben Cooper looked up from his station with wide eyes. Ma'am, are you ordering a preemptive strike? That's exactly what I'm ordering. We hit them first, hit them hard, and hit them where they don't expect it. Captain Dan Miller received the orders aboard his ship, the USS Defiance. He was a veteran of many battles, with gray hair and scars on his hands from years of military service. But he had never faced odds like these. All hands, this is the captain, Dan announced over the ship's communication system. We're about to attack the largest fleet in galactic history. They outnumber us 60-1. But we have something they don't have. We have the element of surprise, and we have nothing to lose. The human fleet began to move. But instead of charging directly at the enemy, they scattered in all directions. Some ships headed toward Mars, others toward Jupiter, and still others seemed to disappear entirely. High Commander Vextar watched from his flagship as the primitive human vessels began to move. They're running away, he told his officers with satisfaction. I expected them to show more courage, but perhaps they realize how hopeless their situation is. Sir, his tactical officer reported, we're losing contact with some of our outer patrol ships. Vextar frowned. What do you mean? Losing contact? They were there one moment and gone the next. No distress signals, no explosions. They just disappeared. The first human attack came from nowhere. Captain Dan Miller's ship, the USS Defiance, appeared directly behind a Zephyrian cruiser and fired every weapon it had. The alien ship exploded in a ball of fire before it could even send a warning. Lieutenant Sarah Kim sat at her computer station aboard the USS Liberty, her fingers flying across the keyboard. She was humanity's best cyber warfare specialist, and she had been studying alien computer systems for 5 years. I'm into their communication network, Sarah reported to Admiral Morrison. Their security is strong, but they never expected anyone to attack their software. What can you do? Katie asked. I can make their ships think they're getting orders from their own commanders. Watch this. On the main screen, they could see a group of Zephyrian ships suddenly turn and fire on their own allies. Explosions lit up space as confused alien crews tried to figure out what was happening. Commander Alex Turner led a squadron of 12 human ships in a daring attack on a Zephyrian command vessel. His ships moved in patterns that made no sense to alien tactical computers. They spun, twisted, and changed direction so quickly that the enemy weapons couldn't track them. This is impossible, shouted one of Vextar's officers. How can they move like that? Their ships should be torn apart by the forces involved. What the aliens didn't know was that human ships had been designed specifically for this kind of combat. Advanced computers controlled every movement, keeping the crews safe while the ships performed maneuvers that would have been impossible just years before. Pilot Julie Green led a wing of human fighters in the most dangerous mission of all. Her small ships dove directly into the heart of the alien fleet, weaving between massive enemy vessels like birds flying through a forest. Julie, you've got 50 enemy fighters on your tail, her wingman warned over the radio. I know, Julie replied calmly. That's exactly where I want them. She led the alien fighters into a trap. Human ships that had been hiding in the shadow of an asteroid suddenly opened fire. The enemy fighters, focused on chasing Julie, flew directly into the ambush and were destroyed in seconds. But the real surprise came when the Zephyrians tried to use their most powerful weapons. They fired energy beams that could cut through planets, only to watch in shock as the human ships absorbed the energy and used it to power their own weapons. Impossible. Vexstar screamed. No one has ever developed shields that can do that. Dr. Ryan Cole, watching from the command center on Earth, smiled grimly. The energy absorption technology had taken 3 years to develop. It worked by converting enemy energy into power for human weapons. The more the aliens shot at them, the stronger the human ships became. Within 6 hours, over 3,000 Zephyrian ships had been destroyed. The alien fleet, which had never known defeat, was in complete chaos. Their neat formations had broken apart, their communication systems were compromised, and their commanders were beginning to panic. "Sir," a Zephyrian tactical officer reported to Vexstar, his voice shaking, "we've lost contact with the entire 7th Fleet. The humans... They're not fighting like any species we've ever encountered." Vexstar stared at the tactical display in disbelief. Red dots representing destroyed ships covered the screen. How could a primitive species do this to the mighty Zephyrian Empire? "Send a message to the Emperor," Vexstar ordered. "Tell him we need reinforcements, all of them." Admiral Morrison received reports from across the battlefield. Human losses were minimal, while alien casualties mounted by the hour. But she knew this was just the beginning. "They'll bring more ships," she told her officers. "When they realize what we're capable of, they'll throw everything they have at us." "Are we ready for that?" Jake asked. Katie looked at the tactical display, showing human ships scattered across the solar system, striking at the enemy from every direction. Her people were fighting with courage and skill that made her proud to be human. "We're as ready as we'll ever be," she said. "And if they want a real war, we'll give them one." Emperor Zarthul stood in his massive throne room, surrounded by golden walls that reached up to the ceiling far above. He was the most powerful being in the galaxy, ruler of 1,000 worlds, commander of fleets that had never known defeat. But today, his hands shook with rage. "How many ships?" he demanded, his voice echoing through the chamber. 15,000, my emperor," replied his chief advisor, General Krikstal. "The humans destroyed 15,000 of our vessels in the first battle." Zarthul's eyes burned with fury. In 3,000 years of conquest, the Zephyrian Empire had never lost more than a few hundred ships in any single battle. Now a primitive species from a backwater world had humiliated his forces. "Send everything," the Emperor commanded. "Every ship, every weapon, every soldier. I want that system turned to dust. My lord, that would leave our other territories undefended. I don't care. No one defies the Empire and lives. No one." Within hours, the largest fleet in galactic history began moving toward Earth. 80,000 warships, each one carrying enough firepower to destroy a city. The Emperor himself boarded his personal flagship, a massive vessel the size of a small moon. Admiral Katie Morrison received the news from Captain Sam Rodriguez, who was still watching the enemy from his stealth ship. "Admiral, you need to see this. They're bringing everything they have." On the main screen of the USS Liberty, the human fleet commanders watched in silence as the alien reinforcements arrived. The space around Earth's solar system filled with enemy ships until the stars themselves were blocked from view. "My God," whispered Commander Jake Phillips. "How many are there?" 80,000 and counting," replied Lieutenant Ben Cooper. "They're still coming through their jump gates." Katie felt a chill run down her spine. This was what they had prepared for, but seeing it with her own eyes was different. The enemy fleet was so large it seemed to stretch forever. "All ships, this is Admiral Morrison," she announced on the fleet-wide channel. "Phase 2 begins now. Activate Project Omega." Across the solar system, human ships began to change. What had looked like 800 separate vessels suddenly became something else entirely. Each ship connected to the others through quantum communication links that could not be jammed or broken. Captain Roy Davis, commanding the USS Intrepid, watched his tactical display light up with information from every other human ship in the fleet. "It's beautiful," he said softly. "We're not 800 ships anymore. We're one organism." The second battle began when the Zephyrians attacked Mars. They expected to find human colonies that would surrender quickly. Instead, they found Major Emma Thompson and her ground forces waiting for them. Emma had spent 2 years turning Mars into a fortress. Every mountain hid weapons, every canyon contained traps, and every settlement was ready to fight. When the alien dropships landed, they walked into a nightmare. "Fire!" Emma shouted, and the red planet erupted with explosions. Hidden missile batteries opened up on the alien ships, while human soldiers emerged from underground bunkers, armed with weapons the aliens had never seen before. The Zephyrian ground forces were used to fighting enemies who used simple projectile weapons. They were not prepared for sonic disruptors that turned their own nervous systems against them, or nanite swarms that ate through their armor like acid dot in space. The real battle was just beginning. Admiral Morrison commanded her forces from the bridge of the Liberty, but she was no longer giving orders to individual ships. Instead, she was conducting an orchestra of war, with every vessel moving in perfect harmony with the others. The human fleet moved like a living thing. When the aliens attacked one section, the ships would scatter and regroup somewhere else. When the enemy tried to surround them, they would split into smaller groups that attacked from multiple directions at once. "This is impossible, General," Krickstahl reported to Emperor Zarthul. "Their ships are coordinating in ways our computers cannot predict. They move like a school of fish, but each fish has the firepower of a battleship." The Emperor watched the battle from his command center, his face growing darker with each passing hour. His ships outnumbered the humans 10-1, but somehow they were losing. Every time his forces seemed to gain an advantage, the human ships would adapt and find a new way to strike back. "Use the planet killers," Zarthul ordered. "My lord, if we use those weapons in this system, the gravity waves could affect our own ships." "I don't care. Destroy them all." The Zephyrians fired their most powerful weapons, massive energy beams that could crack planets in half. But the humans were ready for this too. Their ships formed a complex pattern in space, creating a network of energy fields that caught the planet-killer beams and redirected them back at the alien fleet. "Impossible!" Zarthul screamed as he watched his own weapons destroy dozens of his ships. "How are they doing this?" Dr. Ryan Cole, watching from Earth's command center, allowed himself a small smile. The energy redirection system had been his idea, based on studies of how Earth's magnetic field protected the planet from solar radiation. It had taken 5 years to perfect, but it was working exactly as designed. The battle raged for 18 hours. Human ships danced through space, striking at the enemy and disappearing before they could be hit. They used the aliens' own size against them, hiding in the shadows of massive enemy vessels and emerging to attack from unexpected angles. By the time the shooting stopped, another 20,000 Zephyrian ships had been destroyed. The human fleet had lost only 40 vessels, and most of those crews had been rescued by their companions. Emperor Zarthul stared at the tactical display in his throne room, unable to believe what he was seeing. His mighty empire, which had conquered the galaxy through superior technology and overwhelming force, was being defeated by a species that had just learned to travel between stars. "Get me High Commander Vexstar," he ordered. "My lord, the High?" Commander's ship was destroyed in the battle. Zarthul closed his eyes. Vexstar had been his most trusted general, a warrior who had never lost a battle. Now he was dead, killed by humans who were supposed to be primitive insects. "Send a message." To their admiral, the Emperor said quietly. Tell her I want to talk. The final battle took place near Jupiter, where the gas giant's massive form cast shadows across the battlefield. Admiral Katie Morrison stood on the bridge of the USS Liberty, watching as her fleet surrounded the remaining Zephyrian forces. What had once been 80,000 enemy ships was now reduced to less than 30,000. Admiral, Lieutenant Ben Cooper reported, we're receiving a transmission from the Emperor's flagship. Katie felt her heart skip a beat. The Emperor himself was here, leading what remained of his fleet in a desperate last stand. Put him through. The screen filled with the image of Emperor Zarthul. He was tall and imposing, with skin like polished, stone and eyes that burned with centuries of conquest. But now, for the first time in his long life, Katie could see fear in those ancient eyes. Admiral Morrison, the Emperor said, his voice carefully controlled, I propose a meeting between our forces. Surely we can find a way to end this conflict without further bloodshed. Katie exchanged glances with Commander Jake Phillips. After everything the Zephyrians had done, after threatening to destroy humanity and enslave every human being, now they wanted to talk. What do you have in mind, Emperor? Katie asked. A temporary ceasefire. We will withdraw our forces to the edge of your system while we negotiate terms. The only terms we'll accept are your complete surrender, Katie replied firmly. The Emperor's face showed shock. In 3,000 years of ruling the galaxy, no one had ever demanded his surrender. But before he could respond, alarms began sounding on both the human and alien ships. Admiral, shouted Captain Roy Davis over the communication channel. The Emperor's flagship is powering up some kind of massive weapon. It's aimed directly at Earth. Katie's blood ran cold. Even in defeat, the Emperor was planning to destroy humanity's home world out of spite. All ships prepare to engage the flagship. But Emperor Zarthul was faster. His massive vessel, which had been designed to destroy entire star systems, began charging its ultimate weapon. The planet-killer beam would take 5 minutes to reach full power, but once fired, nothing could stop it from turning Earth into a ball of molten rock. If I cannot rule you, the Emperor snarled, then you will die with honor. Captain Lisa Wong, commanding the USS Intrepid, made a decision that would be remembered forever. Her ship was the closest to the Emperor's flagship, and she was the only one who could stop the weapon from firing. This is Captain Wong to all ships, she announced calmly. It's been an honor serving with you all. Before anyone could stop her, Lisa launched her ship directly at the Emperor's weapon. The USS Intrepid, moving at full speed, slammed into the massive energy cannon just as it was about to fire. The explosion lit up space like a new star, destroying both ships instantly. But Lisa's sacrifice saved Earth. The planet-killer weapon was destroyed, along with the Emperor's flagship. Zarthu, the mighty ruler who had conquered 1,000 worlds, died in the explosion that consumed his vessel. The remaining Zephyrian fleet fell into chaos. Without their emperor, without their commanders, the alien ships began to scatter in all directions. Some tried to flee, others surrendered, and a few continued fighting until they were destroyed. High Commander Nexville, the highest-ranking Zephyrian officer still alive, found himself in command of a broken fleet. He had watched his empire crumble in just a few days, defeated by a species they had thought was primitive and weak. Open a channel to the human admiral, he ordered his communication officer. Katie's face appeared on the screen of the Zephyrian command ship. Behind her, the bridge of the USS Liberty showed the calm efficiency of a victorious fleet. Admiral Morrison, Nexville began, his voice barely above a whisper. I am High Commander Nexville, acting leader of what remains of the Zephyrian forces. I'm listening, Commander. Nexville took a deep breath. What he was about to do had never been done in the history of his species. Admiral, I formally request mercy for my people. We surrender completely and unconditionally. The words hung in space between them. Katie felt the weight of history in that moment. The mighty Zephyrian Empire, which had ruled the galaxy for 3,000 years, was begging for mercy from the humans they had tried to destroy. "What are your terms?" Katie asked. "We will disarm our remaining ships and return to our home worlds. We will pay reparations for the damage we have caused. We will never again threaten humanity or any other species." Katie looked around her bridge at the faces of her crew. They had won the impossible victory, but she could see the exhaustion in their eyes. The cost had been high, and Captain Lisa Wong's sacrifice weighed heavily on all of them. "Commander." "Jake Phillips," Katie said, "open a channel to President Carter." Within minutes, the president appeared on screen, flanked by her advisors. "Admiral, we've been monitoring the situation. The whole world is watching. Madam President, the Zephyrian Empire has offered complete surrender. They're asking for mercy." President Carter was quiet for a long moment. "What do you recommend, Admiral?" Katie thought about everything that had happened. The threats, the battles, the sacrifices made by brave men and women like Lisa Wong. But she also thought about what kind of species humanity wanted to be. "I recommend we accept their surrender, but with conditions. Complete disarmament, reparations, and a promise to never again threaten innocent worlds. We'll also establish monitoring stations throughout their territory to ensure compliance." "Agreed," President Carter said. "But Admiral, make sure they understand that if they ever threaten humanity again, we will not show mercy a second time." Katie turned back to High Commander Nexville. "Your surrender is accepted, but understand this. Humanity will be watching. We are no longer the weak species you thought we were. We are now the guardians of this galaxy, and we will protect all. Free peoples from tyranny." Nexville bowed his head. "We understand, Admiral. The age of the Zephyrian Empire is over. The age of humanity has begun." As the remaining alien ships limped away from the solar system, Katie looked out at the stars. Humanity had won its freedom and proved that courage, ingenuity, and determination could overcome any force in the universe. The galaxy would never be the same. Word of humanity's victory would spread to every world, every species, every corner of space. The humans who had once been seen as primitive insects were now the most feared and respected force in the galaxy. And in the depths of space, construction. Ships were already beginning work on humanity's first interstellar colonies, carrying the message of freedom to worlds that had never known it. The age of human expansion had begun.